It's an Infinity Game Changer.
Hi and welcome to this week's episode of Infinity Game Changer. These are made to motivate, assist and inspire business owners to achieve more than they ever thought possible. And this week on our sofa is Ben, who I think has some questions for me.
It's about planning.
Planning?
Business planning.
Business, okay.
So why is it, and it was the phone call you had, I think it was Wednesday, you said, why are you overcomplicating your business plan? But typically, you go into a bank and you use big, it always does seem complicated. So why do people overcomplicate business plans?
Because business itself isn't complicated. It's not. Business is creativity plus maths, fact.
Okay.
So we can distill it down to that. Okay. And if I could, I would just have a one-page business plan, one piece of A4. And it is possible. I've seen some business plans that when people come in to talk to us, they bring a lever arch file and it's got all the tags in it. And I look at it and think, I'm not even reading that. There's no need for that. You can have, my business is running a 3-page business plan. I've got it on 3 pages. And my business does 5 million. So it's possible. There's 2 ways to build a business plan. You either build a business plan on the capacity of the business first, or you build a business plan on its financials. Now the 2 do cross over later on anyway. For me, I build my business plans on what is the capacity of the business, and then I stress test it when I've built that on the financials. So I'll talk about that, and then I'll talk about the other one. So if you look at my company that I run, we're a national business, and I know that when a manager in an area in my business has 35 sites, they struggle to manage anymore. They're at capacity. They can do it, but they can't do it well. Okay. So straight away, I know a manager in my business can manage 35 sites, capacity number 1. Okay, cool. And then I know that if I have a regional manager, he needs to do 2 days a week admin, fact. He just does. Because if he doesn't do that, he can't operate well. Okay, so he needs 2 days a week admin, and he works 5 days a week, which means if he's going to have a day a week with an area manager, he can only have 3. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he sees an area manager, and Tuesday, Thursday, he does his admin. So that is a regional manager at capacity. Yeah. Okay. So each regional manager in my business can have 3 area managers. Right. I want to see my regional managers every week, and I need 2 days a week in the office like them. So I can only see 3 people a week.
Okay.
So the maths are now starting to stack. I can see 3 regional managers who each can see 3 area managers, which means I can only have 9 area managers. And if an area manager can only have 35 sites, my business at capacity can operate across 315 venues. Business plan built from capacity. So, and now you're going to ask, well, how do you get there?
So, as well, you've based that on basically the service deliverable to the clients as well. You said then you can manage 35 sites, but you can do more, but not well.
Not well.
So again, to deliver optimal service to the customer,
yep.
35, and you've scaled up from there.
Because it's a capacity. And this is a capacity-driven business plan. So servicing the end user, we can do 35, that's a capacity. Done. Regional managers, seeing area managers, I can only get 3 in a week. Capacity. Done. Me, seeing regional managers, I can only see 3 a week. Capacity. Done. So my business plan is built from the capacity level. So I'm going 35 with 9 managers, and it all stacks up. So my business at capacity can operate across 315 venues well. If I was to push it to 350, I am diluting service delivery. Don't want to do that.
Yep.
So my business at capacity can do 315 sites. Done. So I've now got a business now. So I'm not doing that yet, although we are, but if for the intent of this exercise. So I know that my business can do 315 sites, and let's say, when I'm doing this business plan, let's say I'm doing 15 sites. Okay, so I know I've got capacity to grow by 300. Right, so I have to be realistic and say, well, I'm not going to get that next week. Can't onboard 300 clients, right? So it's going to have to get pushed down the line. And then we look at what's the capacity of onboarding for a person in the business. Well, you can probably onboard 2 new sites a month. So each manager in my business can bring on 2 new sites. I've only got 1 at the minute, so I can grow by 2 sites. Okay, but as I grow and grow and grow, let's just say for the purposes of exercise, I've got 4 managers in this business. Okay, so 4 managers, I've probably got 140 sites, something like that going on, right? Done, it fits, okay. I can grow at 8 sites a month.
Yes.
Right, so I know my capacity for growth at that point is 8. So I'll step up by 8. Okay, fine. But then when my 5th manager comes in, I'm not growing at 8 sites a month anymore, I'm growing at 10.
Yep.
So now I start to accelerate. When my 6th manager comes in, I'm not growing at 8 anymore, I'm now growing at 12. So I accelerate even faster. So once I know that mathematical equation, because business is just creativity plus maths, I know my capacity driven by the maths, I know my growth rate driven by the maths, and I know the number of managers times by X number of openings, it's all the maths. And I can plot that out really easily. And that's all done on bits of paper. I am an old-fashioned guy, but you can do it on Excel, whatever you want. But once I've got that mathematical equation worked out, I can say, well, that will take me 60 months to get here. From here, I start with the end in mind. What's capacity like? Where am I now? I can grow at that rate. That'll give me that, that'll give me that, that'll give me that. Well, I'll be here. And then I can work it backwards and say, well, I need to grow faster than that. So I may need to bring a manager in now who just does openings.
Okay.
And he can open 1 a week. So now these 4 managers, for instance, giving me 8 a month, but this guy can just do openings, opening 1 new site a week, 4 plus 8, I'm at 12 straight away. But it's just maths. And what I do is start with the end in mind, from where I am now, work out the mathematical equation and put it in. Because then I go on my, we call them VTOs, on my VTO, I've got one that is 60 months away, 1 piece of paper, in 60 months, this is where I will be, and it comes down the right-hand side of the document. Then I usually step back to 36 months away, that's where I'm going to be, and 12 months from now, that's where I'm going to be. So my next year's business plan is on 1 piece of paper. And I go from 12 to 36 to 60. And I put in what's called rocks, what the steps are.
Yep.
So for me to hit that, I need to make sure I do this by then. And then I, as I said, that these numbers down the right-hand side of the piece of paper, down the left-hand side of the piece of paper, I break them into smaller, manageable chunks. So the 12-month business plan has on it 3, 6, 9 months, 3 sections coming down this side. So now I'm only focusing on the 3-month block.
So if I do this in these 3 months,
It's done.
this is done.
Tick. I'm not trying to look at the year business plan in one go. I'm looking at 12 weeks. And then I'm looking at the next 12 weeks, and then the next 12 weeks, and then the final 12 of the year. Done. So my business plan for the year can fit on 1 piece of paper. And I've got it broken down from 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 12 months from now, and then I do 3, 6, 9. I have to hit these milestones, and what am I going to do to get there? Dead simple. So that's a business. Now people overcomplicate these things, and they try and run every financial equation possible, but without a plan, you can't tie the maths up to anything. So for me, I build a business plan on capacity, then I stress test it against the financials. Does that work? Can I do that? Will there be enough money in the business to facilitate that? If the answer is yes, go and do it. The other way is a business plan built on financials.
Do you think it's because you're about to get into financials? Do you think people worry and go, well, if plan A didn't work, we'll do plan B, and then plan C, and then it's like a fear thing? Why do you think that? You said about running the different scenarios.
Yeah, the problem with doing that is if you've got 26 letters in the alphabet, where do you stop? You can't have A, B, C, D. You have one business plan that you have stress tested beyond belief.
Okay.
So when you set off, You are confident this will work.
Right.
Now, there always will be changes. That's always going to happen. But if you have built already plan A, I've got plan B, and I've got plan C, then they're too rigid for a start, they don't allow for any movement in them, and you're already setting yourself up to allow for failure. If you've got a one-page business plan that is stress tested but has room for movement, you don't need to flick to plan B because that was within the parameters. It's okay. I've got there.
Great point. Yep. Okay.
So
Yep.
it doesn't just have the parameters. I need to hit between 7,005 and 9,000 that month. As long as I do 7,005, I'm okay. I'd love to get to 9, but I need to do 7. And all you've got to do is make sure you land in that bracket, not on the number, in the bracket. As long as you land in that bracket, you can move to the next bracket. If you did 7,005, I'm okay. If I did 9, brilliant. I'm springboarding further on. But you need to have parameters, not set numbers.
Great point. Okay. Yep.
Building a business plan on financials. I don't do this, but it works just as well. Because if you're building it just on numbers, like I want to earn, like my business plan was built on capacity. Then I stress tested it back to make sure the numbers pay out for me. Some people build on numbers. I want to earn £100,000. And I sell desks, and each desk makes me £30.
Yep.
So then, how many do I need to sell to get 100,000? 3,333 desks. I need to sell.
Quick maths. Yep.
To get that profit. Okay. What they fail to look at is, well, if you're selling that number of desks, as opposed to the number you're selling now, surely you'll be able to negotiate a better discount.
Of course, yeah.
And if you could buy the desk and make 30 for the same money, sell for the same money, but buy it for less, let's say £5 less, that's an extra £5 per desk. So to get the £100,000, you only need to sell 2,700 and odd desks to get the £100,000 profit. So building it on the financials means I can probably work in some other parameters. Personally, I build on capacity. Stress test it financially, but you can build it financially and then stress test, can I do it? Does that fit?
Okay, yeah.
Is it possible for me to get 100 desks in the current warehouse that I've got when I usually only store 10? But to do the financial steps, I need to have 100. Well, then my warehouse isn't big enough anymore, so I'm going to have to move. Those things would be worked in that way. But a business plan doesn't have to be overcomplicated.
So someone who's listened to this and thought, right, okay, I'm going to knock this out this afternoon. Couple of bits of it, go, do these steps, and that's out.
Yeah, so you're not going to knock it out in an afternoon. And a lot of people think that. And some people bring me a business plan which is that thick. And I've worked on this, it's took me 3 days. My question to them is, do you really think that in 3 days you are going to have a plan that's going to cover the next 5 years? Really? Have you actually really thought about it and in 3 days done that? Because I guarantee you, there's things you haven't thought of. So when you're doing a business plan, you've probably got to write off 2 weeks, but not solely on the business plan. It's got to be bouncing around in your mind, thinking about it subconsciously, playing it through in its relevant sections. So what's going to happen, what's capacity look like? It usually takes you 3 days to work out. What's that? And well, if I was to do that, then what's the steps from where I am now to there? And that's like drawing a map. You know, when I set off to drive from here to Paris, I don't go to the end of the road and just keep turning left and hopefully I'll turn up at Paris. You don't do that, you get a map. But I know the destination's Paris.
Yep.
And then I get the map and then I go down the A1 and then I go across the Channel Tunnel and I get off at Calais and I use that road. I've got a map. So you have end in mind, starting point, and you build your map. And at each key junction, like Channel Tunnel or getting off at the toll booths at France, each key junction, you stress test it. But a business plan can be a one-page document if you're looking at the next 12 months.
So I do hope that helped you. Any comments as always, any questions, sorry, pop it in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
It's an Infinity Game Changer.